first, I would suggest start writing with me itself. The first thing you must understand is how the bond fission happens, correct? When it comes to a molecule, right? So whenever you have a bond like A and B has a covalent bond, let's say, and if it has to break, it can happen in two ways. One, based on electronegativity difference. If the electronegativity difference of B is greater than electronegative difference of A, usually we see that this bond will break more towards B, which means electrons will be more towards B, and you would get A plus and B minus after breaking the bond. But in case if you have almost the same electronegativity, so B and A almost have similar electronegativity, then the bond will break this way, which means both will get their respective electrons back and they would form radicals. Hence, bond fission can be categorized into two forms here. Right? So they can be categorized into two forms here. First form is called homolytic fission. Homolytic fission. Homolytic fission happens when you have equal fission of covalent bonds. So there is an equal fission of covalent bonds. Usually happens when you have similar electronegative character. Similar electronegative character. For instance, if we have chlorine and chlorine, both of them have same electronegativity. So on heating, right, or passing through light, a particular radiation, then it will split into radicals. Then we call it has undergone homolytic fission. The species which are formed are called free radicals. These are called free radicals. This is about homolytic fission. Just like homolytic fission, now we have heterolytic fission. Heterolytic fission. Here it is about unequal fission of covalent bonds. Here we should have difference in electronegative behavior or character. For example, if you have CH3, CH2, CH3 here, and Br. I'm taking this as an example, right? So this on you react in any solution like water. If you add it in water, this molecule will split into this Br minus and CH3, CH, CH3 positive charge plus Br minus this way. So which means it has undergone into heterolytic fission, forming a cation and an anion. And this cation formed is on the carbon. So this is also known as carbocation or carbonium ion. We may have heterolytic fission forming as an unequal distribution. Suppose if you have CH3 MgBr, got it? And we added that into any ether form. In the ether form, this would mostly exist like minus and Mg plus and Br minus. Okay, this is almost fissioned here. Almost fissioned as in almost broken up. Clear? So in this case, we will have carb anion character also. Carb anion formation. If this type of a cleavage is observed, we say they are heterolytic fission. Everybody got the point? What is homolytic and heterolytic fission? Next, second important term we need to know. First is how the fission happens. Second thing is about reaction intermediates. Reaction intermediates. Whatever the species so far we have formed, like free radicals, carbocations, carbanions, these are all the intermediates which are formed. So there are several intermediates. The intermediates which we will see across are first carbocation. Please keep writing with me. Second, carbanion. Third is free radicals. Fourth one we will come across is carbene. Fifth one, nitrene. Sixth one, benzene. These are the forms which we usually see as reaction intermediates. Okay. Have you learned about chemical kinetics yet? No, right? Anyone? Please answer. No. Okay. No issues. See, in chemical kinetics, one thing what we will learn is how to plot energy diagrams. What does that mean? Suppose if there are any two reactants, let's say A plus B is forming products. If they are forming products. If this reaction happens in single step, if this happens in single step, we call this type of reactions as elementary reactions. This is something which you learn again in kinetics, but as of now we require these terms, so you better understand these terms, what exactly these are. Now suppose if the same reactants are passing through some intermediates, which means first they are forming something like C plus D, and let's say first it is forming some C, and this C is finally forming some D. So there are two steps or multi-steps involved here. Multi-steps. And let's say this D is the product. So there are multi-steps involved. So where chemical reaction involves multi-steps, we call them as complex reactions. So in chemical reactions, you will see these two kinds, elementary reaction and complex reactions. In any of the case, suppose if you take an elementary reaction, example, let's say if you have H2 plus I2 and it is forming 2HI, it is forming, assume it is happening in one step, which means what might be happening here, we have H and H bond here and I bond here. H and H bond is breaking, I and I bond is breaking, and HI bond is forming and HI bond is forming, correct? Which means this reaction is going through this phase before it is forming 2 moles of products. Everyone, this dotted line represents the process. Like H2 in I2, there is a bond breaking process here and bond making process here. Got it? So this procedure through which it is forming a product, this is called transition state. This is a symbol used for transition state, everybody. Okay. So this is called transition state. Transition state. Every reaction will go through a transition state. And transition state is that state where the energy of the species would be maximum. Okay. Because all the bonds are broken. Can you see that? Which means they all are unstable species now. That's why the potential energy in this particular species would be the highest. So transition state, let me write down that. Transition state is the highest highest energy state, highest energy state occurring, yeah, sorry guys, check. So transition state is the highest energy state, right, occurring during the time of reaction. Okay. Now, there could be multiple transition state depending upon whether we have one-step reaction or two-step reaction. Suppose if you have a two-step reaction, then there is something like C is forming here, correct? So let me just copy here. In case of multi-step reactions, which is what we will see here, this C which is forming, right, this is an intermediate, it is not a final product, correct? So this is an C is an intermediate, also known as the reaction intermediate. Reaction intermediate. Okay. Now, transition state is highly unstable. Like you can see, because it has the highest energy form, it is an unstable species. Reaction intermediates are also unstable, but they are definitely stable than transition state. So it is like, if we check out the stability of the entire species, reactants and products, they may be definitely more stable as compared to that of reaction intermediates, and they will be more stable than transition states. I guess you guys understood that. Now, if at all I have to show this in a plot, how does that look like? So imagine here we have reactants. This is the energy of the reactants. This is the potential energy of the reactants. So this is the reactants energy. From the reactants, let's say first it has gone to some new state here. From there, maybe it has gone to another state like this. Sorry, take this way. From here, let us come to this state. From here, let's say it has come to this new state, which is product. So you can see that this is the energy of products. So this peak which has formed here, this dip which we are seeing, is because there might be an intermediate forming. So this is an intermediate. And the peaks of this state, peaks of these energies where it is forming, these are transition state. So transition state 1, transition state 2. Transition state will always be formed whenever we are getting reactants to products, right? Through reactants to products. In case if there is an intermediate, we'll get multiple transition state. If there is no intermediate, only one step reaction is there, you will get only one transition state. Now you can see here, this is a two-step reaction. This is a two-step reaction here. And this x-axis is written as reaction progress. How the reaction is progressing with respect to energy is what we are trying to tell us. These graphs are very, very important as we go ahead. So please understand that whenever we see these graphs, it is about how the energy is changing with respect to reactants and products and throughout their entire journey. If at all I write the same thing in terms of single step reaction, so in single step from reactant, it would be changing, let's say, towards product. This is reactant and this is product. And there are no intermediates, then there will be only one transition state. Energy and reaction progress RP. Okay, so this is a one-step reaction. And above one is a two-step reaction. Everyone make a note of it. Not necessary. Products may be less stable also. If products are less stable, we call that is an endothermic reaction. If products are more stable, we call them as exothermic reactions. You know that energy will be released. Why transition state is more energetic state? Transition state is that state where the bond breaking and making are happening. Okay, like in this case, you can see you're breaking the bond between hydrogen and hydrogen. See, bond formation will always bring the stability or no? Correct? So this is the area where everything is broken state. Nothing has been made. Clear, beta? So all the species are broken into fragmented pieces. So that should be the least stable state of that molecule, which means it is carrying the highest energy. If the reaction, I'll give you in a simple terms. Remember this way: reactant, product. If reactant and product are here, this is endothermic. If reactant and product are this way, this is exothermic. Both reactions are feasible. Okay, you may have learned that in thermodynamics, right? Entropy, you have learned, no? Entropy is the biggest factor to explain how endothermic reactions are also spontaneous. Where there is a bond breaking, there is no bonding. Okay, let me give you one more example. Force of attractions, repulsions would be there. For example, suppose if you have CH3 Br, I'm reacting with OH minus. Now here we have carbon hydrogen bonds existing this way. One side bromine is breaking the bond, the other side OH minus is making the bond like this. So this is the transition state. Okay, and through the transition state it will come towards product as CH3OH plus Br minus. This is the final product. So there are bonds existing. Bonds won't exist only in the place where there is breaking and making. Okay, good question. Suppose when you have, let us take air, N2 and O2. Air has main composition N2 and O2. Even nitrogen, oxygen are continuously colliding, right, beta? Right? So when the part of collision happens, see what is happening here. When nitrogen and oxygen molecules are colliding, we might see oxygen nitrogen bonds are changing this way. This is a transition state which they will attain. Correct? Nitrogen, N2 molecule, O2 molecule are colliding. They are attaining this transition state. But this transition state, right, this energy to which you have reached is not sufficient enough to convert them into something like a new molecule NO. So this product is not formed in air. No? In air, N2 and O2 are continuously colliding and they are reaching to a transition state. But that transition state is not the sufficient amount of energy to give NO. Is that clear? So again, they will get back to reactants. That's why we say N2 and O2 are inert in air. Clear? But if you see the same N2 and O2 with an electrical arc, that is what happens when you have thunders and lightning. Electrical arc. At the stratosphere, you can see N2 and O2 with an electrical arc and they are moving with such high speeds. Now this time, the entire bond between nitrogen and oxygen has broken because you have provided such sufficient amount of transition state. So this is a transition state. Therefore, now you will have NO formation. That's why we will have NO gas in atmosphere above. No, beta, it is at that junction where we have to decide now it will be product or reactant. Okay, that depends upon something called an activation energy. I'll tell you what it is. Suppose from here, this is reactant. And let's say this is product. Correct? If you are able to achieve this form, if you are able to achieve this much amount of energy, this energy is called activation energy, represented as EA. Then this transition state will definitely give products. But suppose If you got only this much amount of energy, if you couldn't process and get this much amount of energy, this is also a transition state, but this transition state will only drive back to reactants, while this transition state will give to products. Is the point clear, beta? So every reactants have certain activation energy involved. When it reaches to that level of activation energy, it will definitely give products. But if it is not able to reach to that level of activation energy, then it will again get back to reactants. Okay, so we will just write down the definition of intermediates. Everybody, please write with me. Intermediates. So species formed during the reaction between two transition states. Two transition states are called intermediates. They are called intermediates. So whatever we have written earlier, carbocation, carbanion, benzene, these are all the various intermediates which are forming between the two transition states. Okay, out of which the first one we will be studying is carbocation. This is the most important one. How the carbocation is formed, what is its stability. To some extent of stability we have already learned, right? This was earlier called as carbonium ion. Carbonium ion. But now it is commonly used as carbocation. Carbocation are also known as carbanium ion. How does the structure look like? If we see that we have this type of a structure with carbocation, and it will be planar in nature. You can see it will be planar in nature, and the carbon would be having sp2 hybridization. Any carbocation will have this. So this will be trigonal planar structure with bond angle of 120 degrees. Okay. Now if you write that in the form of a orbital, how does it look like? One bond is going inside, one bond is coming outside here, and one bond is present on this plane with pi bond present on this plane, which is empty. So this is the carbocation representation. Okay, everyone. Now, first important point in this is when we consider about this carbocation, pH3 3+, 3 phenyl groups on a carbon. This problem with this is we have carbon with 3 phenyl groups. 3 phenyl groups will be, and all become planar here. That will be very difficult to keep that in that planar state. This is how you have to keep it in planar state. So these three are very bulky and big groups, right? So these are very big groups. All of them keeping out one plane becomes difficult. So what they will do, here they will slowly rotate. Here, here, and here. Because these are with respect to the single bond, they will slowly rotate here. And they will exist in a form of a propeller shape. So the same molecule will have propeller shape here. So which means this bond would be slightly coming outside. This bond would be slightly coming outside here, while this bond will come slightly outside here, and this bond will come slightly outside here. So this way it will exist in a propeller shape. Second type of carbocation which you need to be aware is that carbocation which has a double bond already present on it, like this, CH and some R. Now if you see on this carbocation, right, here this carbon already has, one pi bond, one sigma bond here and one sigma bond here. And one of the pi bond which is formed is with respect to one p orbital. So this is an empty orbital. So which means the hybridization on this carbon is sp. So it is linear here. So it is not angular, it is not trigonal planar, it is linear in this case. Okay, everybody. Another case, if you check out, in case if you have a double bond here with positive charge. Now here it cannot exist linear. In fact, it would have, the shape would be like this. It would have an empty orbital like this. Got it? So this empty orbital which is present, this is actually of sp2 hybridized empty orbital, not pure p orbital. So hybridization of this carbon is still sp2, but because of its, ring formation, this orbital has to be sp2 hybridized. This is positive. Here, this is a p orbital. Did you understand this point? How this is sp?
Yes, sir.
So imagine this carbon originally without positive charge. Without positive charge means maybe it had some more electronegative atom like chlorine. Now after the removal of chlorine, when it had chlorine, imagine what is a hybridization. It is sp2, no? You can make out that because there are 3 sigma bonds here. 1, 2 and 3 sigma bonds. 3 sigma bonds means it is sp2. Correct? Now chlorine has been removed from here to form a carbocation like this. So it had formed a carbocation here. The minute it forms carbocation, we are expecting it should convert into sp and it should convert into a pure p orbital. The empty orbital will convert into a pure. But because of the ring strain here, because already it is in a ring form, right? It cannot come linear. So since it cannot form linear, that orbital will always be an hybridized orbital only. Empty but hybridized. First, we will generate the carbocation from alkyl halides. Because halides are more electronegative elements, when they leave, they will always give a heterolytic fission. For example, if you take RCl and you treat that with any Lewis acid. Lewis acid means orbitals which molecules which have empty orbitals like AlCl3, BCl3, BF3 like this, ZnCl2, FeCl3. These are all Lewis acids. When and chlorine has lone pairs present on it, so it can act like a Lewis base. So chlorine will give electrons to Lewis acid and comes out as Cl minus. So you will get R plus and it will form AlCl4 minus. Imagine this way, RCl which has 3 lone pairs present on it, and we have AlCl3 with empty orbital. So this lone pair will be donated to this empty orbital and it will take away electrons from breaking the bond here, making an heterolytic fission. So what is the type of transition state we are getting? Check out. R and chlorine bond is breaking and chlorine and AlCl3 bond is been making. This is the bond which is making, correct? And after the product has formed, you will see this will get delta negative charge. And here, this is getting delta positive charge. This is the transition state through which it is going. And from that, it is getting R plus AlCl4 minus. That's how it is forming a carbocation. Right, everybody? I guess this point is clear. Right, so this is the way we can generate the carbocation using alkyl halides. Let us see the second way of creating alkyl carbocations. This is from alcohols. From alcohols, if you take ROH, this is an alcohol family. In case if we protonate, this step is called protonation. Whenever lone pair attacks on a proton, H plus is a proton, right? So this is getting protonated. So which means if you take alcohols, add it to any acidic medium, we generally see that the lone pair will catch up with H plus and it will form ROH2 plus. And OH2 plus will leave easily to form R plus and H2O. That's how we will get carbocation formation in this. Got it? The same thing can happen even with a Lewis acid also. Suppose there is a Lewis acid like BF3. BF3 is a Lewis acid which has an empty orbital. So the lone pair will be donated to that empty orbital and you will get this as O BF3 H plus and minus charge, and after that this will break to form R plus B F3 with OH and minus charge. So that's how we are getting carbocation formation. This is also an intermediate state, not transition state. I'll write the transition state. ROH, got it, plus H plus. When it is coming, you're going through a transition state here like this. We have H and this, okay, where oxygen is getting positive charge and hydrogen was already positive charge. So this is the transition state and it is forming an intermediate. This is a new intermediate. So from this intermediate, after the bond breaking is happening, which means it is going through another transition state and it is forming another transition state like this. O H2 with delta positive, delta positive. So this is the second transition state through which it is finally forming a bond as R plus and H2O. Got it? H2O does not have any further reaction, so reaction will stop here. But this R plus is again an intermediate. From this intermediate, we may have further reaction also. Between this one and this one, yes, we can. Okay, we can definitely compare the energies here. See, we have to check out the stability of the molecules whenever we are comparing the transition states. Got it? Originally, we had two sigma bonds here between RO and OH, right? Here we have three sigma bonds. So it is bringing towards more stability, isn't it or not? Although this is not in our syllabus right now, okay? We will be studying all of this in alcohols. Since you asked, I'm just presenting it here. See, originally we started from here with ROH. After that, you can see there is a extra hydrogen bond has come here, which means there is an extra bond. Due to extra bond, energy will always increase. Stability will increase. Okay. And then from here, there is a bond breaking to form R plus. So from here again, you will have something like this. So here there is R plus formation and here there is ROH2 formation and here there is ROH. This is transition state 1, this is transition state 2. So I guess you understood which one has more transition energy. I told you transition state stability also depends upon stability of the next species. If R plus is not stable, because R plus is a highly unstable, na beta? It has only 6 valence electrons, octet incomplete, correct? So if this is less stable, its respective transition state will be always above it. Transition state beta, yes, perfect. Wherever there is a bond breaking and then bond making, there has to have a transition state. Okay. ఇందులో అన్ని ఆక్టెట్ కంప్లీట్ ఉన్నాయి, న్యూట్రల్ స్టేట్ కదా. ఇక్కడ ఆక్టెట్ ఇన్కంప్లీట్ ఉంది, ఏది ఎక్కువ స్టేబుల్ ఉంటుంది? అదే కదా స్టార్ట్ చేసింది. ఇక్కడ చార్జ్ ఉంది, సి నెక్స్ట్ మాలిక్యూల్ లో చార్జ్ ఉంది, ROH2+. చార్జ్ ఉంది కానీ ఎక్స్ట్రా బాండ్ కూడా ఉంది కదా, అందుకే అది ROH కంటే కూడా ఎక్కువ స్టేబుల్ అయింది. See the third way of preparing. We have seen two ways so far, right? Yeah, two ways of generating carbocation. Another one, we prepare it from primary amines, from 1-degree amines. That is, if you take RNH2, this is primary amine. On treating that with HNO2, nitrous acid, this is nitrous acid. When you treat that with nitrous acid, got it? This would become RN2+ and Cl-, like a salt. And this salt is unstable form. This is an unstable salt. So it will convert into R+. N2 gas will come out of that and Cl- is formed. Got it? This salt name is diazonium salt. Diazonium salt. So primary amines, when you treat with HNO2, will form diazonium salts, and diazonium salts are unstable. It will generate R+. As of now, you just have to understand this. The entire mechanism we will study as per the chapter comes. Our idea is to how to generate R+. So as of now, just take the compound as how it is generating carbocation. That's all.